Hello my lovely Flosstube friends, welcome back to the channel. A very warm welcomes to you all. If you are a returning subscriber, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all of your support on this channel. And if you are new to the channel or you're just slipping by and checking out this video and you like what you see, please don't forget to give me a little thumbs up to let me know you like it and hit the little subscribe button, and that way you won't miss any future notifications. The plan was to get to you much more in the month of August, people. I have to confess, I thought it was going to be a relaxed and, easy month. It's been anything but an easy month. So I had loads of plans for August. It was supposed to have been a nice relaxed month, and I was going to get loads of stitching done, and I was going to get lots of videos uploaded. I was going to do some live streaming. Needless to say, you haven't seen me, so none of that actually happened. Today we are up in my dressing room. So welcome to the dressing room, people. It is the only place that I can record at this ridiculous time in the morning, because it is like, it's like 5:20 in the morning. And this was the only way to get this video done. So I thought I would get up, I would get the video done really super early, and then I can go and crack on with some work. So what to tell you all, the month hasn't gone according to plan. I confess, I had plans for videos, I had plans for live streaming this month, I had plans for, I had lots of plans. None of it has happened. But there is a reason, and we'll go into that a little bit more along the way. I'm going to try and do this as orderly as possible, but you know me and order. Order is actually organised chaos. That's how I roll. So anyway, welcome to the dressing room. It is the only place that I've got good enough lighting that I can show you all the things and you can actually see them. So I need to get on with work really early this morning. So I'm going to try and squeeze all the stuff in. There's not really that much. Like I say, the month hasn't gone according to plan, but that's not to say that nothing has happened. In fact, I feel quite smug because although I might not have done lots and lots and lots of stitching, which was the plan, because that's how we live our lives, I did get finishing done. I know, and for those of you that follow me on Instagram, thank you so much. Love, love, love all the beautiful comments, and appreciate everyone's comments on the post that I put up about my finishing. It was rather impromptu. I had a very impromptu finish this month, and then needless to say, once I had the impromptu finish, I was very impatient to get it FFO'd. But let's start with the FFOs, shall we? So FFOs, it's the only one this year. I checked back on my handy dandy spreadsheets. So for those of you that know, on my blog, I have like an Excel spreadsheet that I share with people that might want to sort of track the way I track. It's not really very in-depth tracking. It basically just tracks what I've stitched on month by month, and then when I finish and when I start. And ignore the squiggles at the bottom, but I've gone through and printed it off and had a little look, and the only one that has got a little big blue line around it is the only finish for this year so far, which, and you're like, really? Sure there was more than that, but there wasn't. So I've been working on my Cricket Collection Winter. As you know, here is what it looks like. I started winter, when did I start winter? I started winter on the 11th of January 2021, and finally it got finished on the 26th of August 2022. So that's not too bad for me, not too shabby. So here it is in all its glory. So I finished it on the 26th and I FFO'd it on the 28th, and it was just like it was like, once I'd got it finished, it was like, I just want it FFO'd. I want it sort of, because we're just sort of slipping into, I know we're autumn now, so autumn is on its wreath downstairs. I'll even put a picture here because, you've all seen that one. I love how that one was finished. However, what I did decide is, although I love autumn and I love it on the wreath and it's got the little birdies and it's got the berries and it's got all the things, to have something where I keep changing out the actual project in the middle would mean that I would need to change all the decoration that was on the wreath as well. And I know what I'm like. As seasons happen and when things happen, I just don't do those things. I just wouldn't do it. And then I was sort of thinking, well, actually, I quite like the idea of leaving my wall space, because I'm quite limited with wall space. I wanted to leave my wall space for bigger pieces. So I was thinking, well, how do I want to finish it? My first go-to place is Vonna, the Twisted Stitcher. I'll put a link here so that anyone that doesn't already know her, which if you don't know her, you should know her. She has the Vonna's Twisted Stitcher finishing school. So she does it for a living. So she's, you know, she's a pro. If I didn't live a million miles away, I probably would have asked her whether I could send my piece to her and let her do it, because yeah, she would make a much better job of it than I could. But I didn't have that situation, so it was a case of, okay, well, let's follow the tutorial and see whether I'm capable of doing it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it was totally easy, super easy peasy, but I did do it and I did manage it, and I was really quite surprised with how well they came out, because I wasn't anticipating it was going to go that well. But like I say, it wasn't a complete success in my opinion. It didn't look exactly how Vonna would do it. It's probably not as professional. It's definitely not as professional as Vonna could do it. But we got a finish, people. So here it is. Here is my winter, and I finished it as a flat fold. So the plan was that I wanted a fabric that had snowflakes on it, because it made total sense to have snowflakes on it. But unfortunately, I couldn't find any blue fabric with snowflakes on it. Everything that I did find was really quite pale with white snowflakes, which I thought detracted from the stitching and from the fabric, because that's blue and quite pale. So I wanted something quite bold on the back. So it is plain, but I'm fine with plain. And here is my finish. All FFO'd. There we go. And it's got like the ribbon at the bottom. Again, I would have preferred it to have been something different, but that was all I had. So basically it's just a little bit of ribbon with a white edging, but that's fine, because it's sort of, there's white on the snowflakes and the snowmen, so I'm fine with that. The other thing was, because this is such a long piece, Vonna does the cording she makes out of DMC herself. She's got a tutorial on how to do the cording as well. I'll post that up here for anyone that's interested. I would have liked to have done it like that, but I didn't have enough thread in the right colour, and like I say, I was being super impatient as always, so I decided that I would buy some cording. There was an issue with the cording, but it's actually worked in my favour on this one. So I bought the pre-made cording. So here's the cording. She says, there's the cording, pre-made cording. And I was like, oh, I'll put the cording round and then I'll you know, tassel the end exactly how Vonna does it. However, I ran into a problem that, unbeknownst to me, pre-made cording isn't necessarily made out of the colour of the cording. So there's like a cream sort of cording inside this. So when I went to fray the edges, I was like, oh, that's not going to work because it's got cream on it. Which on this piece doesn't work because there really isn't any cream on it. So I even had to go to the extreme of making my own tassels. So yeah, they probably could have come out a little better, but I was like, you know what, they'll do. I have no problem with the tassels. So what I done was I selected the colour on the design. So I picked the colour from the N, the blue on this N, and I just made my tassels out of that so that it sort of corresponded. But yeah, I am super happy with how they came out. I was a little worried that because this was such a long design that it wouldn't work for a flat fold, but it really does. I think because it's so short, it works perfectly. So yeah, I'm super happy. So now at least I've got winter that is on a flat fold. It can go on the side and be pulled out in the winter, and then when it's time to switch, when spring gets here, I can switch them. Now, you're sitting there going, well, how can you switch them, Teresa, because you didn't finish spring? I finished it, but I didn't FFO it. Well, I attempted to FFO it. If I've got pictures, I'll put them in here. I was really unhappy with how I finished that one. Hence the reason why it was never up. I just sort of had it stood somewhere, but it was never really out there so that people could really see it because it was so badly done. So I decided that because I was flat folding this one, it made total sense to flat fold spring as well. So 2 FFOs. 2 FFOs, but 1 finish for the month. I am, yeah. Considering that the rest of the month was really quite unproductive, I'm quite happy with that. So let me put winter up out the way. Spring, I can't remember whether I done a video where I shared with you the fact that I was really unhappy with the finish. I don't think I did. So like I say, if I've got pictures, I'll put pictures in. So spring was started on the 6th of February 2018. And I finished it on the 15th of February 2019. So it took me over a year to stitch that one. But then I FFO'd it along with winter on the 28th of August. And here. This one actually got a fabric that was, the backing fabric was like a different fabric. It wasn't just a plain fabric. So here is spring. Again, it's a flat fold finish. This is the bit that I was telling you about the tassels. Can you see how like the outside casing of the cord is a different colour to the inside? I need to fray this a little bit more. I was going to put a toothbrush on it and just fluff that right up, and then maybe trim off these curly whirly bits. So yeah, because that was, as you can tell, this was the number one. I basically used spring as the, let's see if we can do it first before we do anything on winter. Now, there was a whole saga of issues with this one, purely because, she says, purely because when I tried to finish spring, I glued it. I glued it to some backing board on the back of the fabric, but I also hadn't left myself a big enough margin on the back to do the thing that I wanted to do. So there was a really, really small amount at the bottom edge that flapped at the back, which was all glued, and the top had a little bit more. But needless to say, the way this has been done is that it's on 2 pieces of the backing board that have been glued together with some battening, and then I laced it. But trying to lace the even weave where it had been glued, yeah, needless to say, these poor little fingers, they took a bit of a beating, and I had to resort to using a thimble at one point because the needle just wouldn't go through the even weave to lace it on the back. But I made it work. It's probably not as straight as I would have liked it, but it was never straight on the original one. So I was like, I can deal with that. We went with like a grunge fabric on the back. And again, I didn't really think about the ribbon, but it's got like little daisy things on it. I had that just in my stash anyway, so I was like, that'll do. No one actually sees that once it's set down. Again, like I say, same issue with the cording. I was under the impression the cording that when I frayed the end that it would be the same colour inside and out, and it wasn't. But that one's okay because there's quite a lot of creams and beiges in this one, so this made total sense. But there we go for spring. So I now have 2 flat fold finishes that can come out seasonally. I can't believe I've actually got seasonal projects finished, people, at last. Obviously autumn is on the reef. I don't want to take autumn off the reef because it still looks fabulous on the reef, and the reef was designed for autumn. So needless to say, that one is up and downstairs because it is officially autumn, people. Cannot believe it. I can't believe summer's gone already. But that said, that only leaves the final chart of summer in the Cricket collection to attack, and then I will have the whole set. But I can't bring myself to actually even consider stitching on it just yet because, yeah, autumn I loved stitching on. Winter I loved, apart from all the white snowflakes and the snowman. But I did actually enjoy stitching on this one. But there was a lot more back stitching this than I remember being on autumn. What I haven't told you is the fabric that was used. So the fabric that I used for this one was Chromatic Alchemy 28 count even weave in the colourway Tempest. So it's all cloudy and snowy. That was the look that I was going for. And for spring, for this one, This one was, again, a Chromatic Alchemy fabric, 28 count even weave in the colourway Spring at Lakeside. So yeah, so I'm happy to have 2 of them as flat folds. Summer, the plan is that I will stitch that one just so that I have the full set, and it will be finished as a flat fold. But I do love the fact that you can just fold these up and put them away. But I'm going to say it just because I've got to. When I put these 2, one in front of the other, to take some pictures of them, of my finishes, and post it on Instagram, you know, when it's just like, oh, but they look so good together. And I'm like, they look so good together, but I can't have them both out together because it looks really silly if you've got winter and spring and all, and summer, and you had them all laid out, even though it's not the right season. So yeah, needless to say, they look fabulous together as a set, or when they're all stitched and they're sort of sat on the side as a set. But yeah, I'm gonna have to follow the seasons because, well, why do we stitch them for the fact that they're seasons, but they just look so good together. So I'm super happy that I've got 2 FFOs and 1 finish for this month. I didn't really realise how bad I've been until I looked at my sheet, like I say, and realised that it's the only finish that I've had this year. It's really quite bad. Really quite bad. There was a number of people, when I said that I was gonna follow the Vonna flat fold finish, there was a couple of people that messaged me on Instagram and said, oh, I'd love to see you do the finish. Now, I'll confess, I did record it. I did record me doing it. However, because there was a few sagas that went with it, it wasn't the sort of video that I could just sort of throw up and say, oh, you know, let's finish together. You know, let me show you sort of how Vonna does it as a professional, and how me, who's never done any type of finishing like this, deals with this sort of thing. And yeah. I did try to put the video up and to sort of do some editing to it to make it so it'd work, but it didn't. If any of you would be interested in seeing the video, I possibly could do the video like a sped up with music in the background rather than listening to me rambling, and yeah, and the camera sort of like I could show it in chunks of like the process if anyone would be of interest. If not, then I would just delete the footage and forget that it ever happened or that I ever recorded it. But if any of you would be interested to see, you know, a sped up version with music in the background of me finishing mine, then of course I'm happy to post that up. But leave a comment in the description box below. Leave a comment below if you would like to see that, and I'm sure that I can do a bit of a cut and shut with editing and just some music over the top to show the process that I followed. You'll probably see all of the problems that I ran into on that part, but it's just to prove that even if it doesn't go as smoothly and as plain sailing as it does for Vonna, that doesn't mean that it won't look good. I still think these look fabulous. And there were problems. You know, we had problems with the cording. I had problems with this one because, like I say, I had very little material of the even weave at the bottom to wrap round, but a lot more on the top. What other problems did I have? The Eileen's glue. The Eileen's glue didn't turn up. Would you believe it? The Eileen's glue turned up about 6 hours after I finished both of these. And I was like, really? So I improvised with the glue that I had. It was a fabric glue, but it wasn't as superior, I'm sure, as the Eileen's glue. What other problem did I run into? Just to point them out. Because for anyone, at first, when I first did it and I realised that there was a couple of issues, I was like, oh, damn it. This not going well. And I put it all down at one point and was like, no, I'm just gonna throw them in a drawer. There's no point, it's not working. But I persevered, and that perseverance still gives you some fabulous finishes. So I'm pointing out the issues because I wanted to prove that they don't have to be perfect. And on this one, when I was putting the fabric around the back panel, Vonna says to cut off like the corners so that when you flap the fabric round and glue it down, you end up with nice, pretty corners. The only problem was I cut it a little bit too close. So you'll see there's a little bit of white showing. See that? Just there. That little bit of white. That is where I basically cut the corner too close, and then when I flapped it over there wasn't enough fabric. But that's no problem for me because it's at the back of it, I'm not going to see it. And in all fairness, I'm just going to get some coloured pen and pen that in, so you'd never know that's there. And had I not pointed that out to you, no one would have seen it. It's just not something that you would be looking for. All the other corners, however, some of them were a little tight, but they still look fine. They still came out fabulously. Bear with, I need to go and see whether my doggy needs to go out in the garden, and there will be more about that shortly as to what goes on with the girls and half the reason that I haven't had the time that I thought I was going to have this month. Honey's just messing around, doesn't actually want to go out, which, yeah, we've had some issues with the girls, people, but like I say, I'll talk about that at the end if I find time. So, when I was saying about the Cricket Collection Summer, this is the final one. I have the chart. I will stitch on it at some point, but I don't think it's going to be any time soon. And the only reason I say that is you know how much I hate to stitch on white. There's a lot of white. I mean, the S is a white, the M is a white, the R is a white. Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to submit myself to that. And I don't think I would stitch it on that colour fabric, because I just don't think that it does, I don't think it makes the colours pop. Arguably, I think the same applies with spring. Autumn, I thought looked fabulous on the fabric that I chose. Winter, I think worked perfectly. Spring, I think it's just a little bit, I think it mutes down some of the colours and some of the detail in the design. So yeah. You know when we sort of pick out fabrics and we think, oh, that goes fabulously when you throw the colours on there. It does work, but then sometimes I think it can wash some things out. So yeah. I want to make sure that I pick the right fabric for the summer, so that if I'm going to have to stitch white, I want it to really pop. I want it to look really something special. So yes, so that one will be stitched, but not anytime soon. I've got other seasonal stuff. I've got the drawn thread seasonal, welcome spring, welcome Christmas, welcome autumn, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to sort of start looking at getting some of those done. And again, I think because I think it looks so effective as flat fold, I think I would probably, or arguably, stitch those with the intention to finish them in the same way. So yeah, I have not been put off by the process, people. And Vonna is like the best teacher ever. The best teacher. So, whips. What have I managed to stitch on? Like I say, not as much as I would have liked. There is a reason. Of course, it has a lot to do with the girls and work. But mostly the girls are the reason for that. But like I say, we'll get to that a little bit further on. So what have I stitched on? First up, I decided to pull out my lovely mini red Queen Red Dragon. About now you should be seeing a picture of where you last saw it and what it should look like when it's eventually finished. If it's eventually finished. It's been on a stand downstairs in the living room. I'll confess, people, I haven't really been sitting downstairs stitching very much at all. But as and when I do sit down there and I've had sort of an hour or half an hour, I've just done, 100 or 200 stitches here and there. So we are getting there. This is where we have got to. Like I said in previous videos, I'm getting everything on a diagonal. So most of the stitching that I've done has been in this corner down here. So I've been working a little bit more on the wing and this section here. But like I say, it's very much token gesture. But progress is progress, especially on the full coverages. And I do feel at the moment that I'm neglecting my full coverage. With my full coverage, I do like to have a good few hours of time to sort of sit and stitch with them. But since I've had the girls and they're still young and they don't sit still for very long, or at least not in the evening. This is the bit that makes me laugh. So they'll sleep all night when they're not sick. They'll sleep all night. They will sleep pretty much most of the day whilst I'm working or, whilst I'm out at work. But then by the time I get home, which is the time that I will sit down and stitch, the girls come alive and they're just into everything. They're either mooshing around in the garden, getting up to all sorts of mischief, or just, yeah, or just like, come on mummy, we're bored, we're bored. It's like having children, it really is. So that is the only full coverage that I've worked on this month. And mini red queen, red dragon. So it is, I'm stitching that tent stitch, so that's half cross, on a 28 count even weave easy guide. 2 strands over 1. Mini red queen, red dragon got 5 touches this month. So look, like I say, I mean, it's been on the frame in the living room for the whole month, and I've only touched on it 5 times, or 5 days, 5 separate days. So that's how very little I've sat down on my sofa this month. Next up is my Littlehouse Needleworks Summer ABCs. Here it is, if I can do it without the glare. I decided that once I'd finished my winter, that this was the next one that really needed some serious attention, because the plan is that I want to try and get some of these smaller ones out of the way so that I can work on some of my bigger projects without feeling bad by the fact that if I was just focus a little bit more on some of the smaller ones, I could get some more finishes. So this one's still got the needle attached to it. This is the one that so winter I had in my office, and when I was either taking lunch or I was on a call where I didn't need to take any notes, or I wasn't engaging on them, I was just listening, I would do a spot of stitching on it whilst I was listening. This one has always been the same, as well as this is also the one that I have spent most of my time on my live stream stitching on, because it's on a very small frame. So this is where we got to. We'd already done most of this, and I'm now down to the Z at the bottom. The plan is to get that little Z finished, and then I'm going to go up and then work the rest of the alphabet at the top. Sorry about the fact that it's still in the Q-snap and it's a little bit crunchy. But this is going to go back in the Q-snap and hopefully get a little bit of lunchtime stitching today, if I can find time. But again, this is the one that sits in the office, so it has a little bit of love as and when I can, in between working and doing all the things. So I'm rather happy with that one. The fact that I've got to the bottom, I've got to the Z, which means now I'm working on the other half, the top half. So yeah, we're definitely heading in the right direction. We're going upwards, which is how I like it. So I'm hoping that that won't, I think there's just a few more flowers and bits and pieces to go in there, and a little bit of grass along the bottom, and then that one is done, and then I can move up to the top. This one is being stitched on, I think this is a 30, it's either a 28 count or a 32 count linen in the colourway Tudor Rose by Pole Stitches. This was the one that I was using for one of my samplers, and decided against it because it wasn't working. So I decided to change the fabric. So because I had so much of the fabric, I wanted to do it on this one. Now, it's charted to be more of a oranges and creams. I've changed I've changed every single colour in the called for Classic Colourworks. The only one that I've kept the same is the Blushing Beauty. Everything else is totally different. There have been a number of people that have said, can I share with them the threads that I've used? I will do when I finished it. However, just a note, most of it has got Silks for You threads that were sort of specials, like, you know, Silks for You 04 April 2019. So they're the likelihoods of you finding a matching colour, unless you have all of those Silks for Yous of the month. Yeah, you might struggle to match them, but I will share them because I've been asked to share. So I will share what I use, and then if you happen to have them or you can contact someone to get hold of them, then yeah. But I'm loving the pinks. The pinks, it works better for for my house and my decor. So that one has been up, and it's only just recently come back out because, like I say, I was working predominantly on winter. Winter, by the way, got stitched on 7 days for the finish this month, and then obviously 1 day for the FFO'ing. What else did I stitch on? So we also did a spot more stitching on my Bella Filipina, maiden of, I can never say it, and I'm not going to say it because I will butcher it, but it's this one, maiden of whatever that is. So here she is. I really can't wait to get back to her, but because I'm trying to really focus on the things where I'm like, well, actually, if I really put a bit more time into some of the smalls, I will get them finished, I will have some more finishes, and then I can move on to these other projects. But then I get bored of that idea and change my mind. So this is where we've got to. About now, I should be showing you pictures of where you last saw this one. Ignore all the needle minders, people. I seem to be having needle minder crazy. I have more than one on every project for some bizarre reason. I have no idea why. This is where we've got to. On this one, I'm loving the sparkle in the dress. Absolutely love, love, love. Love the colours. The skin on this one, so this skin up here, I've been stitching it 1/1 half cross. So the skin is 1/1 half cross rather than 1/1 full cross. But what I've done is made sure that the skin, because it's just 1/2 of the leg, instead of doing what would normally be my first leg in that direction, I've on purposely been stitching this on the second leg direction, so that when you look at the stitching, although it becomes more delicate, the thread will still look like it's going in the right direction. I know that sounds like it's a little odd, but yeah. What I found was by doing, when I first did it, I did it the other way. So I did what would be my first leg of a stitch, intent going in one direction. And because it was right next to some stitching where there's full cross, it really stood out to me that you had a full cross with a top leg that went in that direction, yet my skin had a single strand over one that was going in an opposite direction. So I didn't like that. So I undid it. I'd only done about 5 or 6 stitches along that top section there, and I was like, no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I decided that I would continue, but do it so that I used the equivalent of my second leg in the tent, and I think it looks fabulous. And I'm finding that it's a lot faster than the normal 1/1 full cross because you're only doing half of the stitch. And 2, I'm not having so many problems with getting the threads to lay nice, which you can get when you're stitching 1/1 full cross. Sometimes they just go. I was just looking for a faster way of doing it, in all fairness. I'll put my hands up. That was the only reason that I decided that I would try the tent stitch 1/1. But I'm pleased that I did, because I really am enjoying the process rather than really not enjoying the process. So most of what I've done since you last saw it is this section here. So I've been doing this bit. She says, put my hand over it. But I'm really itching to get back to this one. So Bella Filipina got 2 days worth of stitching this month, just on that section over there. So really looking forward to getting back to that. What else did we stitch on? Oh, hold that thought. The other one's in the other room. So the next project that I worked on was my Longdog sampler tap dancer. This is my bedroom project. So when I sit in bed, if I feel like doing a spot of stitching whilst I'm listening to something on the telly and the girls are behaving themselves, this is the one that I pull out. It's being stitched with a Silks for You thread. Here it is. It's Silks for You PR109. There we go. And about now you should be seeing when you last saw it and what it will look like when it's finished. And this is where we've got to. So we're not doing too badly at all. And I like the fact that this is what I call easy stitching, people. This is where you can literally just sit and grab a few strands and stitch a thread and then stitch another thread and then put it down. So I've basically done most of this section here and this section here since you last saw it. And I love the variegation and the colours in the threads. I'm trying to remember what the fabric is. She says the fabric is, it's a hand-dyed fabric by Stephanie Lugana, 25 count, in the colourway April Showers. There we go. So that is the progress on that one. So that is the bed project. And then finally, like I said, the month didn't go quite according to plan. I had all these plans and yeah, best laid plans. Finally, we have the train project. Now, although, yes, I've been back into the city, I've been back in London. My boss went away for the summer and he went to Mauritius. So whilst he was away, I was actually working from home. So the train project didn't get as much love as I would have liked. It's the High Heels Collection 2. Here it is. We had already got a mini finish with the single one there. So this month, it's only had 2 days because I've only been back into London this week for 2 days. And about now you should be seeing pictures of where you last saw it. And this is where we've got to. So for 2 days worth of stitching, she says, let's cover that up. For 2 days worth of stitching, I don't think that's too shabby at all. I'd done a little bit of the bottom and a tiny bit of this. So we've done mostly this and I've started putting the green leafage in that one. So absolutely love that. So that is it for the stitching, people. Like I say, the month didn't quite go according to plan, but hey, does it ever? Does anyone's? I mean, I don't know. Maybe other people's lives are a little bit more sedate and, you know, everything can be planned and organised. Unfortunately for me, that just doesn't seem to be the way. Doesn't. What was I going to show you? So I've got a little bit of haul, nothing drastic, nothing amazing. You will know that I'm a great lover of the tacky bobs or tacky bills. They're called different things from different sources. The last time I talked about them and everyone was like, oh Teresa, where did you get them from? I got them, but then they all went out of stock and everyone was like, I can't find them anywhere. And it was as if they'd sort of disappeared and that no one was producing them anymore. Well, they appear to be back, at least at Lakeside Needlecrafts here in the UK. They're called Tacky Bills and it's an adhesive beading bed. I love these because these are great, specifically if you're the sort of accident prone person that if you was to just lay them on something like a mat or a beading mat, if you bumped it, all your beads would go everywhere. I'm gonna unwrap them just so you can quickly see. I'm a great lover of these because I think they're great if I'm like doing a train project or something along that lines. It's the same size as a CD case. In fact, it's arguably smaller than a CD case. And then when you open it, these are definitely a different brand because they look different. Or I don't remember them having that little thing on the side. But basically, they're just shiny, sticky boards on both sides. So you just sort of pour your beads on there. They stick to it so that even if it was to turn upside down, which I really wouldn't want this to turn upside down because it'd end up with fluff and dust and all sorts over it. But the beads stick to it in general, and then when you're on the move or you're moving your project, you literally just close that. All the beads stay attached in their little sets. I always put mine sort of, each set of colour of beads, I'll put like a little pool of them in different areas on the bead mats or on the sticky stuff. And then that way I know exactly which one is what. They all stay in their own little areas. and we don't end up with a huge hot mess of beads ending up being wasted or all over the floor, or yeah, in my case it could just be anything. So because they were back in stock, like I say, I got mine from Lakeside Needlecrafts. They are called, they're from the Yarn Tree, if that helps. So this is yarntree.com product. They call them Tacky Bill now. I'm sure they were called Tacky Bob. So I think these are slightly, I think these might be different, or they've just changed the name. But I bought 2 of them just so that I have them. The fact that they're in stock, I was like, well, I'm definitely going on a purchase for them. So I've got them. Not that I need them right here, right now, but there are a few projects that I have now on the go that are going to require beads, of which I now have 2 Bella Filipinas on the go. So both of those will require beads. So it could be that I'll use 1 for each of those. What else to show you? I didn't show you these, and I've been meaning to. So you remember the Pip and Chip floss storage system that I am absolutely loving and using as my main storage facility for my floss, for my DMCs now, for the hanging range. Pip and Chip also do some tins. And when I saw these tins, I was like, I just have to. I just have to. So the first one, of course, is the Krynic or Krennic, depending on where you are and how you pronounce yours, tin. I'm one of those people that has loads of spools, and they were just laying around. I had them just sort of floating in a drawer. Finally, with this tin, they've got foam circles in the bottom, and then I can put my, I mean, this is not all the ones that I've got. They're in and amongst other projects, but as and when they come back out of projects, they will go in the little tin, and I won't keep losing them, because I'm renowned for losing them. So they have a tin that has a name on it so that they don't get lost, and then I end up buying more of the same thing that I've already got. Also, this was an absolute must, just because it's one of those things that, you know, when like you see something and it's like, it's too cute not to. They do personalised tins, and it says it's a little hedgehog. It goes fabulously downstairs in my office because it's like the same creams and taupes that I've got in the yellows and whatever in the room with my bumblebee stuff. So it says make a wish, and then it's got my name, Teresa, down there. This one is more of a project tin. So it's got these little grids in the bottom. And what comes with this, which I thought was just super cute, I'm not sure that I would use it for a project because you know what I'm like about bobbinating, but I would definitely use the tin. It comes with these hedgehogs to attach your floss to. So if you normally bobbinate and you work off bobbination, these fit inside the tin and stand up in each one of these grids. Let me just put a few in so you can see what I mean. Let's put them around the right way so you can see them. So then when you put them in the tin, and then you can see their little hedgehog faces inside. Absolutely love. I love that idea. It's fabulous. If I love to do bobbinating, or I worked off bobbinated threads, of which I still do. So it may be that I'll actually use, you know, if I've got a small project that I'm working on in the office, this would be perfect. And since as I'm still trying to use up my bobbinated DMC range, this could be the way to go. So if I find a small project that I want to work on that is, I've got all the threads all bobbinated, I'll unbobbinate them and put them on the hedgehogs and use the tin. But I absolutely love that. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So if you're looking for some tins, like I say, the Krennic one for me was a bit of a deal breaker anyway, just because I had loads of the little spools and they were just floating around on drawers, and I was forever buying the same thing because I didn't think I had it, only to find that if it had a place and it had a home, I would have found it. So I now have 2 of the tins. Like I say, Pip and Chip website here in the UK. Love, love, love. What's not to love? There we go. What came with that? So also I've got a Pip and Chip needle minder that goes with the tin. So it's got the little hedgehog on it. Super cute. Super, super cute. So it has a little matching needle minder for that project as well. Okay, what else to tell you? So we're officially in September. Oh, didn't even tell you what the date was. So today is Friday the 2nd of September. It is my birthday month this month, and I'm pleased to report that for my birthday month, for the first time in a long time, I'm going to a little stitching gathering. Some of the ladies that went to the Essex Needles retreat, there was a small selection of us that decided that we wanted to do a little something in a much smaller scale later in the year. So we decided in September. It just so happens that it's the weekend before my birthday. So on the 16th, I think, the 16th of September, I'm going away for the weekend. It is a very short weekend, but going away for the weekend for a little stitch and chat session with the ladies from some of the ladies from the Essex Needles retreat. Really looking forward to that. So excited. As part of one of my hauls, I did mention that whilst I was away at my Chatelaine retreat, that I picked up the Bella Filipina chart, the Greta Goldbrum, this one. Sorry about the glare, it's in its plastic. And I was like, yeah, I'm itching to do this one. I've got Kate at Sparkly's making me some custom fabric to try and replicate something similar to this on the back with the turquoise and a bit of purple around the outside. And when I said that I was going to do it, there was a couple of people. So Gina, I think she's got a floss tube called Gina Stitches. I'll put a link here to her channel on Flosstube. And Welliestitcher. We've all got the same chart, and we've all decided that providing we all get our fabrics in time, we are going to have a little new start stitch along at the retreat on this chart. So yeah, I know I said I wasn't going to have any more new starts, but this one's seasonal again. It's Halloweeny. It's seasonal. I don't do Halloween, do I? So this is as Halloweeny as I can get. So yeah, we're going to have a new start, and we're just going to sort of do a little stitch along. Of course, I'll get left behind because I always do, but it's all in the participation. At least that's how I'm selling it to myself. And because I did get a finish, there I can have another new start. I did say that, didn't I? If I got a finish, I could have a new start. So that's how I'm selling it to myself. What else to tell you? So also, although I've not managed to get very much stitching of my own done, and the girls are the culprits for that, and that's not their fault. I'll explain more momentarily. I have been watching a lot more Flosstube because I've just had to sort of sit there and watch rather than actually partake in any actual stitching. Because of that, I have been watching a lot more Flosstube, like I say, and I got a little enabled. If you haven't visited her channel as yet, it is Kirsty, I think it's called Crafty Kirsty. I'll put a link here, or a link here to her channel, where she done I think it was a whip parade, and she loves her samplers. Loves her samplers. And all the time that I was sitting there watching this video, I was like, oh, that's lovely. Oh yeah, samplers. And I'm sitting there thinking, do you know what? I've got so many samplers that haven't been stitched on. And the only reason I say that is when I went back to my handy dandy Excel spreadsheet that I work from, and part of that is I can do a quick look of the year in progress to see what's been stitched on and what hasn't. And you can see by all the little green trend lines, and the green trend lines here tells me how much stitching I've done on each project. But what did really become apparent was that there was quite a lot of ones on here that have not been touched at all this year. And from that, a lot of them, in all fairness, are my samplers. So I've got, what have I got that I haven't stitched on? So Elizabeth Weston only got 5 days on it in the whole year. My Kings and Queens that I inherited from Deborah when I went to Arizona has not been stitched on. My Quaker Rosewood Manor has not been stitched on. I had the new start for my little, what I consider a sampler for the Owl Forest embroidery, where I just made a start on the centre. I'd consider that more of a sampler. So yeah, so you know when it's just like, what am I going to do for September? You know, I really wanted to make my evening in the park a bit of a focus, but that really hasn't happened. And even if I focused on it now, I still don't think I'd have it done by the end of the year. I mean, I know you have to stitch on it to actually get a finish. I get that. But I know what I'm like. So I think what I've decided is that in September, I might make it a bit of a September sampler month. That's not to say that that's the only thing that I'm going to stitch on, because it's not. But I would like to try and think that I can get each one of my samplers out and stitch on them at least for 2 days each. I mean, that can't be that hard in a month, right? Can it? I do hope not. I mean, like I say, I've got my Quaker Rosewood Manor. I'll put pictures here so you can see. So I've got Quakers Rosewood Manor. I've got my Owl Forest Embroidery Cherry Orchard. I've got the Kings and Queens that I inherited from Deborah in Arizona. And I've got Elizabeth Weston. So in this month, 2 days of stitching on each of those projects would just at least make it so that there's a trend line on my chart. That's one of the reasons that I have my Excel spreadsheet, is that I hate it if I have any projects that don't get touched on at all, unless I'm considering making them a UFO. So the plan is in September to make it so that each one of those has had some touch on it this year, so that way if they don't come out for the rest of the year, I won't feel guilty. Just looking at my sheet, what else hasn't been touched on? So my Winter White Santa, my Mirabilia Winter White Santa hasn't been touched on. However, my plan is to make sure that that comes out in December, because it's Christmas, it's Christmassy, and it's Christmassy. So the plan is in December that Winter White Santa will be stitched on. So that will put him out of the 0 and back into the numbers. Like I say, Kings and Queen, that one will be part of the sampler September. Elizabeth Weston, that will be part of the sampler September. Welcome Christmas, again, I think probably November, December, I'll start stitching on that. But I do want to get my ABC summer pretty much done before I start pulling that one out. So yeah, I have got a plan in my head. There's nothing written down and there's nothing set in stone. But you know when it's like, okay, well I want that one first. So if I basically now focus on my summer ABCs, the idea would be that that shouldn't really take that long to get finished, because it's narrow and it's small, she says, famous last words, which will then free me up to bring out my Welcome Christmas as my office project, because by then it will be winter and it will be Christmassy, and it all makes total sense to me. I'm sure it doesn't to anybody else. What else hasn't been touched on? Chatelaine Frosty Knot Garden, that hasn't been touched on, but that's because I'm still trying to focus on Evening in the Park. I just wanted a new start on that. So I'm happy for that one to stay at 0. I could put a few stitches in just to make it so that it goes into a number. That's it. Everything else has been touched on this year. So I don't feel too bad. Where are we at? Yeah, I really do need to get a wiggle on people. Update on the girls. So the reason that this month has not gone according to plan is because of the girls. So first of all, when we was having our stupidly hot heat wave, it was so hot I didn't want to walk them out on the street. So I took them to like a little grass patch where there was trees. I took them for a little snuffle around on the grass. Of course, the grass is all pretty much dead here. It all turned yellow and brown because we just haven't had any rain whatsoever. Would you believe it that I didn't even get 50 metres, I don't know what that is in yards, but I didn't even get 50 metres off of the grass verge after 20 minutes of letting the girls snuffle around under the tree so they didn't overheat. And this is at like 7 o'clock in the morning, people. So I don't take the girls out through the day when it's hot. The evenings were still really, really hot, so the only real good time to take them was the first thing in the morning. She got a grass seed stuck in her ear and was screaming, so we ended up with an emergency appointment at the vet's to get that done. So we had a couple of days where she was a bit under the weather because her ear was still hurting, because by the time we got to the vets and the vets actually got in there and got the grass seed out, it had started to burrow into the side of her ear canal, so there was a bit of bleeding, and yeah, needless to say, her ear was sore. So she was a bit under the weather for a few days. Then the fact that the girls are renowned for being foragers, they love to snuffle and get their noses into things that they shouldn't, and 9 times out of 10 they eat things that they shouldn't. All of a sudden they both appeared to get upset tummy, but it was like spontaneous upset tummy together. So they both were constantly in the garden. They weren't being sick, it was the other end, which is arguably worse to a certain extent. It was like having a newborn baby and having to get up every hour on the hour, because there's 2 of them. One would go out, do what needed to be done, would come back in, then the other one would start crying in the crate that one needed to go out. So literally I was like so sleep deprived, it was unreal. So we had I'd spoke to the vets organised for some probiotic and thought that it was just like something that would pass. We'd done that for 3 days, so there was 3 nights there of no sleeping. That didn't seem to fix it. They seemed to get worse. I took them back to the vets. The vets looked them over and said yes, they've definitely got tummy ache. They said we'll give them a course of antibiotics and also some special gunk. We done the antibiotics. We had a 5-day course of antibiotics. So within sides of about 3 or 4 days of taking the antibiotics, they both perked up. Everything went back to normal. So I'm like, hallelujah, it's fixed. I can sleep again. Literally, the antibiotics finished, and I would say within 4 days of the antibiotics wearing off, they've both now ended up with upset tummies again. They have both been up copious amounts of time at night, one at a time and both together. Unfortunately, pooping through the eye of a needle, love them. And, you know, it's quite bad. It's not just that it's the odd here and there, it is just constant. You know, they're going to the toilet maybe 10 times through the day, and then they're going at like 9 or 10 times at night. We tried the bland diet. The bland diet just made things worse, compounded it. So that didn't help. And they've been like that now. So what is it today? Friday. So they've been like it for a whole week. So for a whole week, I've had basically almost 0 sleep. I mean, every now and then I've had like, you know, a 3 or 4 hour pocket. But in between that, it's just sort of, it's not one, it's the other one. Then obviously I've had to go to work the last 2 days. So I've been up at sort of 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work, even though the last time I was up with the girls was at 5 o'clock. So it's like, yeah, it's been hard going. So I would say for the last sort of 3 weeks, my plan was to sort of have lots of time to stitch and work from home and yada yada, and it's just not been, because when I have had a time to sit down, all I've wanted to do is sleep, because I needed to cat nap because I was so tired. And the fact that the girls feel so rough and they're so under the weather, they've just wanted to snuggle with mummy, and the last thing they want is me sort of going, well no, you can sit next to me but you can't have cuddles and strokes. So me being the doting mummy of my fur baby girls, they've just got endless stroking, and yeah, and honestly I feel like I've got a newborn baby. That's how it feels. And you know, when you're sitting there thinking, now I know why, that at the ripe old age of nearly 50 years old if you can help it, you don't have newborn babies, because we can't keep up with the pace. I remember the days when Lauren was young and like a baby, and you know, I was in my really sort of early to mid 20s. You know, the sleepless nights didn't really bother me, and I'd still get up and go to work and it would be fine. It doesn't work like that anymore. I have been so tired. But yeah, so needless to say, they've really been under the weather. We've had to be very careful with their food. So we've put them back on what they would normally eat, apart from just the biscuits. So no raw food, no treats, no tidbits. I mean, I don't feed my dogs anything off my plates, and they certainly don't get any human food. But they normally get 1 or 2 treats in the day, and then when we're doing our training, they get like special little raw meat treats. All of that has stopped. The only thing they're having is what I would consider to be like little handfuls of biscuits, dry food, but they're only getting that maybe 4 or 5 single handfuls in each serving, so that way their tummy doesn't get overwhelmed, because yeah, it's been so rough on them. And the fact that they're so small, the problem is they lose weight too quickly. The last bout that Honey had before they had the antibiotics, Honey had lost nearly 1 kilo, and that was just in like a 5-day span before they gave the antibiotics. This time it's been 7 days, and they only really had from when they started the antibiotics, 48 hours after the antibiotics until 4 days after, and we had a 5-day course of antibiotics, they were sort of eating normally, but we slowly reintroduced a lot of their food to bring their bowl sizes back up to what they would normally eat. So they hadn't even really regained the weight that they'd lost the first time before it's happened again. I have no idea what's caused it. I don't know whether it's the raw meat diet. I don't know whether they've picked up themselves a bug. The vets, when I spoke to them, have basically said that they think it most likely that they had a bacterial bug infection the first time. The 5-day course of antibiotics probably wasn't long enough, and that basically the bug has started to come back. So they basically said give it until today. If there's no improvement by today with the probiotic and by just basically reducing their food back down and just keeping them on small little amounts of what they can, you know, what they would normally eat. If that doesn't work by today and they're still in the same predicament, then I need to take them back down the vets today. But fingers crossed, you know, when you don't want to sort of jinx yourself. Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. We've been up now for 2 or 3 hours and they haven't needed to go outside to do a number 2s. So I'm hoping that we're coming round the other side. I don't want to have to give them another course of antibiotics if I don't have to. But equally, I'm not making them suffer any longer. You know, I've done what the vet said. I think a week is more than enough of having, you know, upset tummy in puppies. I think that's too long. I think 2 or 3 days is more than enough. But the fact that they've sort of said, we know we need to give them a bit of time because there's obviously something going on, I've given it time. But yeah, today is the day. If this does not improve by this afternoon, they are going to the vets and we will be having words with the vets about what is going to happen next. Update on Mummy. Mummy has not been too bad. She's thoroughly enjoyed the summer weather. She's been pottering around out in the garden. We've got a few more hospital appointments that we need to attend to because she's got some other little issues, but nothing drastic. And currently she has been feeling much more like herself. We thank you so much for all of the lovely comments that are left on the channel that are always asking me how Mum's doing. And that you've sending prayers and sending love to Mum. You know, we do really appreciate that. Mum does read them all. So yeah, so thank you so much. She is doing extremely well at the moment. Like I say, we've got a few more appointments and some other bits and pieces, you know, more sort of the older person type of appointments that we need to attend to. So yeah, nothing drastic. So at the moment, we do feel like we're on a bit of an even keel. We're still waiting for the rain. There still hasn't been any rain. So yeah, I'm still having to sort of, you know, go out and do a bit of watering of the garden. I'm trying to be careful with water so I don't overwater. I just do it sort of once every sort of 2 or 3 days. But the temperature is going down. And apparently this weekend is supposed to be rainy. We are supposed to be having rain this weekend. So watch that space. If it rains, you never know. Might get a video done at last. Other than this one. And doing it at like, I don't know, 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. On that note, people, I think we're done. We are done. Like I say, I thank you so much for all the support on the channel. All the lovely comments. For anyone that's reached out to me and said, Teresa, I haven't seen much from you. Are you okay? I am okay. And I thank you so much. Haven't necessarily got to any of the emails or any of the comments. I'm still working on it, people. It's just, yeah, it's a work in progress, as it always is for me. But I need to go. I need to go and get some work done. So until next time, people, I thank you for hanging out with me. I thank you for coming along for the ride. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later. So until next time, people, bye-bye for now.